Today we're going to talk about some seeds I got and some seeds I gave away and why I'm doing this crazy giveaway. I've given away so many seeds, just thousands and thousands of packets of seeds. By no way is that an exaggeration. Why am I doing it? I guess we'll talk about that later. First, let's go ahead and rip into these two packages and see what I got in the mail. Hey everybody, this is Aubrey from Crybaby Seminole Homestead. Today we are going to talk about seeds that I recently purchased and seeds that I've recently given away and more that I'm actually packaging up to give away even more to everybody I know. I've actually set up this, I have a whole elaborate setup, and I've given seeds away to hundreds of people now. And I'm starting to think maybe I'm just going to give seeds to every single person I pass and meet on the street, because everybody needs to have a garden, and I'll tell you why. It's just from Gardener's Basics, and it's a huge package here, but only one. So on gardenersbasics.com, I'm sure I got it either from Walmart or from Amazon or Etsy. But basically what I do is I buy large, very bulk, this is a lot of seeds. How many pounds? This is a whole pound, I think. I buy seeds by the pound, and I pack them up, and I do seed swaps, and I seed giveaways, and I just share seeds with anybody who will take them, because I want people to have gardens. So this is what I like about this one is that it tells you what variety, because a lot of times when you buy sprouting seeds, it'll just say broccoli, or it'll just say radish. It won't necessarily always tell you the variety. And I like to know the variety. This is Waltham 29 broccoli. And so with sprouting seeds, the plant, okay, this is my theory, okay, and I think it's true. The plant only needs to sprout so you can eat it as a sprout, right? So if it's not a named cultivar, it could be the best premium seed. It's going to be clean seed because it's meant for you to eat it. So you're going to, sprout it and be able to eat it. Garden seeds and sprouting seeds are categorized differently. Sprouting seeds need to be able to germinate so you can eat them as sprouts. Garden seeds need to be able to germinate and then produce so the garden seeds need to be able to produce the plant to maturity. The sprouting seeds only need to produce the plant to the sprout level, that stage. But I have planted seeds from sprouting seed and been very pleased. So I'm going to do some as well. I'll update you. I'll do some videos where I show you this is something I planted from sprouting seed that I bought in bulk. And I'll show you that you can plant these. Now, this is excessive. Maybe I'm spending about $20 a pound for seeds. That's a great deal. If you can find a pound of seeds for less than $20, that's fabulous. Sometimes it's $30 a pound of seeds. It depends what kind, and what vendor and all that kind of stuff. But I would not pay more than about $30 for a pound of seeds, unless it was a really rare plant or it was really special in some way. I would do some price comparisons, and I do that. I've been buying all different kinds of seed packets that I then label. And now here's the thing. You can't just sell seed packets. It's not something you can just write down the names and sell them. If you are going to be a seed distributor, or you're going to be a seed business, you have to be licensed. In one of my last videos, I kind of explained how to do that, and I gave you the links and stuff. But you're not really controlled when it comes to gifts. So if I'm gifting things to my friends and family and colleagues at work and my students at school, I can do that. But if you're going to charge, then you have to follow the rules. So I'm not charging. I am doing this as a giveaway. Now, I've gone through all these different types of seed packages, And these are not seed packages. These are for coins. So these are the cheapest way I found the seed packs. And I think I'm going to buy a lot more of these packs. And they're working out really well. They're thin, okay? They're thin. And like if you mess with it a lot, it'll probably come apart. It does have the glue on the tip of the envelope. It's not enough because the seeds are, some of them are big. And if they're bigger, then it's fine. You would dampen this and close it. I'm not doing that because I just don't have time and I don't want it to be wet. But what I'm doing is I'm using a glue stick and I'm just gluing it closed. And I'm being very generous with the glue. I'm like literally gluing it like here too, like, because I don't want there to be a gap at all, because if it goes upside down, all the seeds are going to fall out. So I like glue like the whole top here and even across the middle, and then close it up and like really hold it tight. And what I'm doing is I'm just bundling them up like this, Nasturtia, Empress of India. And I'm writing down the information. Like if you were going to sell your seeds, you'd have to have the seed variety and you'd have to have when the germination test was done. So this seed was tested in February of this year and it was 94% germination rate. So if I wanted to sell these, I could probably sell this, but I'm not going to. And they would want me to run my own germination test. This germination test was done by the company I bought these seeds from. And so I wouldn't sell these, but I would give these to my friends, family, students, colleagues, etc., neighbors, strangers. I would just want people to have a garden, and I think it's really, really important. So I needed to find the cheapest way to get seed packets. And are these small? Yes, they are. But a lot of times the seed packets that you buy are a lot larger than you need. Like the Baker Creek seed packages are beautiful. They're works of art, but they are a lot bigger than they have to be for the number of seeds that are inside of them. So these are like for coins. And I think some other people must have had the same idea as me, because the description for these says like coins, and things like seeds, but they're not made for seeds. As you can tell, there's a big gap where the glue would have been, right? This little glue tab. This would not be ideal for seeds, but if you pull out a glue stick and glue it closed, then you're fine. And I'm giving people enough for their garden for this year, because a lot of people, I don't want to say are ignorant, but they're not educated on seeds. And a lot of times they'll throw them away. And I don't want them to be thrown away. I'd rather give people another pack next year if they don't seed save themselves than have them throw away the packet and buy another one. So I'm giving them enough for their garden for a year. And, obviously if they have a small garden, they could save some for next year. But because of so many misunderstandings of how long seeds can last, I just don't want the seeds I give to people to end up being thrown away. So, so I've got all of these different seed packages that I am filling up, and I'm doing about, just for my own mental capacity and just getting kind of bored. I'm making about 20 to 25 packets of each type at a time. And then I'm bringing them to work and I'm putting them on the table. I've got this like little setup. I'll show that to you guys in this video too, of how it's set up and organized. And it's really interesting. It's going by really fast. A lot of people are taking the seeds and they're so grateful. Like I've had so many people come down to my room to tell me how happy they are. They weren't going to do a garden and now they are. So that's really exciting. When I gave seeds as a prize last year or the year before, I had a student tell me that her mom literally tore up her entire front yard and turned it into a garden using the seeds that I gave her. I started adding seed packets to my prize box whenever we do raffles, and I do like the spin the wheel thing when the kids are being good. Whoever's name is still on the wheel by the end of the period, I spin the wheel and they get to choose a prize. And I have got like prize pencils, highlighters, fidgets, stickers, shells, and candy and seed packets. More students chose seed packets last week than they chose any other prize. And that says a lot. These are 12 and 13-year-olds who are they'd rather have a seed packet and grow a garden than have a piece of candy or a toy. So this is really cool. So we got through the first package. This is the Broccoli Waltham 29, which I love that the name is there. And then I'm going to go ahead and rip open the next packet and see what we've got. I can't speak today. I haven't had my whole cup of coffee yet. So let's rip into this next package. This one's from True Leaf Market, and I buy from them a lot. I often buy from their website, but I also buy their products through Walmart. I do price compare because sometimes it's cheaper on Walmart and sometimes it's cheaper directly. So you just got to do that. Price compare, especially, if you're buying a lot of seeds like I am, it is worth it to check on the direct site and then also checking Amazon and Walmart for the same vendor, like the same product on both places or several places to see if you're getting the better deal. So let's go ahead and rip this open and see what I've got inside. This is nice, but also very messy. I didn't rip it right on the line like you're supposed to. And the padding is recycled material, which is very good for the ecosystem. But now I'm not very camera ready. Lots of little pieces of the recycled material that's the padding. This is very sustainable. I love that though. So let's go. I'm not going to clean up the mess. You guys are going to just bear with me. There's actually several packets here. I got this one here. This is red veined sorrel. This is for myself. This is not bulk enough that I'm going to like package them up and give them away. But maybe if I get my own seeds going, I could do that. So this is 55 days. But I love red veined sorrel. They're beautiful. I like them as an ornamental. I think of it as a gray man crop. Red veined sorrel is so beautiful. Kind of like, Swiss chard. Rainbow Swiss chard is really beautiful too. There's so many different greens that you can grow, different plants that you can grow that are edible that don't necessarily have to look edible. You could put red veined sorrel around your flowers and it would look like an arrangement, just like landscaping. It wouldn't look like food. If you live in an HOA, red veined sorrel is very pretty. I would grow this in my front yard in window boxes, put some flowers, put red veined sorrel in a flower and then red veined sorrel in a window box. That would be absolutely gorgeous. And I believe red veined sorrel is perennial. If I'm wrong, please correct me. If you agree with me, please pop that in the comments. Isn't red veined sorrel a perennial? I'm fairly certain I have red veined sorrel that I've had growing in the backyard for a long time. I do prefer the young leaves to the older leaves. But, to each his own. But the younger leaves are more tasty. So, in my opinion. And it says it has a flavor similar to kiwi fruit and strawberry. Okay, so I think they're referring to, the sweet tartness of it. It is kind of tart. I think it would be really good with, a vinaigrette salad dressing if you're having your red veined sorrel in a salad. So, lovely. So got that one, and then I got my next package is a lot of seeds, and their packets are really pretty. They're pretty much almost all the same, I think, as far as I've gotten so thus far. This is Portuguese Kale. I love it when I get the name in the package this big. A lot of times you'll just get kale, but this is Portuguese Kale, and I do have students even when I have a variety, they're like, what kind of radish is this? What kind of kale is this? What kind of lettuce is this? They do care about what it is, especially people who have had a garden before. Brand new gardeners usually will be fine with just saying, oh, it's chard, it's beets, it's lettuce. But after you've been gardening for a few years, you start to get interested in the varieties. So this is a Portuguese kale, and this is the kind of information I've been saying that seed companies have to have by law in Washington State. You have to say when you did your germination test. They did theirs in August 15th, 2024, and you have to include the germination rate, which was 81%. Legally, if this seed was being produced in Washington, they would be able to sell it. Because none of the germination requirements are less than 80%. A lot are less than 80%. Some are 67, 70 something percent germination rate is allowed. But when I looked at the requirements, none of them said less than 80. So as long as you have 80% germination rate or higher, if that seed variety is allowed to be sold, you can actually sell that variety. If you have done a germination test, if it does not contain invasive weeds that they have outlined, they have a list, or, noxious weeds, and if you have your seed license. Now, of course, if you're selling anything, you also have to have a business license. So, because we are over, I think we do need to follow the rules, but I don't like all the rules. So it's kind of like being a teacher too. Like I have to enforce the rules and I have to follow the rules, and not all of them make 100% sense. But we have to follow the laws of Caesar. That's what the Bible tells us too. So you have to follow the laws. So, and if you don't like the laws, you can try to get them changed, right? But you need to follow the laws, follow the rules, and then try to get them changed if you feel like they're unfair. I feel like some of the rules for gardening and selling your produce and selling your plants and selling your seeds, I don't think they're all fair. I think we're overgoverned. But if we follow the rules, we can keep doing it. And if you are, I wouldn't say litigious, but you can be an advocate for your, for your cause, whatever you think, whatever you're passionate about. I actually would like to see some of the rules change because, obviously you don't want to have noxious weeds mixed in with your seeds and stuff like that, but I think we are overly regulated. Anyway, we'll move on. This is Portuguese kale, and I'm going to package a bunch of these up because when I checked in the staff room, a lot of the seeds I had set up are gone, which is what I want, right? But now I have gaps and I have space to put some more varieties. So the greens were really a hit. So I definitely want to add more greens. So I'm going to put some Portuguese kale into some packages and put those out for them. And then let's go ahead and see what else. I've got one more pack from this order. It's another bulk order. It's a lot of seeds, lots of seeds here. And the variety this one is Ethiopian Kale. This is fabulous because you know what? What I was seeing is that the greens were so popular. And also one of the nice things about greens is you can eat them when they're small. So even if you don't think you have a green thumb, let's say you're going to go on vacation. You grow some kale, you grow some lettuce and stuff like that. And you're going on vacation, harvest everything, harvest it down to the roots. I don't care. Water it, put it, if you don't have an irrigation system, you can do some self-watering techniques. I'll give you some hints in another video because that's kind of unrelated, but you can harvest it. You're not waiting for a fruit crop. You're not waiting for a root crop. You can harvest it early. That's what's nice. You can stagger your plant dates, your start year, when one thing is done, just plant some more before they're done. Like every week or two, plant some more seeds. Even if you're not a great gardener, this is a way to get fresh food. If you buy bulk seeds like this, you could have fresh, young greens the entire spring, summer, even into mid to late fall. And kale, I'm not sure if the Ethiopian kale will be the same, but when I planted kale in my yard, it has survived. Now it doesn't keep growing more leaves and get bigger during the winter, but it survived. It survived the fall and winter and then gone to seed the next spring and summer. And then I either let it self-seed or I'll collect some of them, let some of it self-seed. So Greens, whether you like them or not, they can stretch your food, add nutrients to your food. I think we all need to eat more things like this. And so I know that for myself, I eat a lot more greens and vegetables and that kind of stuff when it's in my garden, because I feel like I've invested so much in this, I better not let it go to waste. And so it's not going to be going into a landfill. And even if it did go to waste, okay, there's no such thing as waste in a garden. Those leaves will break down into soil. It'll feed the earthworms, and then you'll have even better soil the next year. So there's no waste in a garden. No waste. There is waste in a supermarket. When you go and you buy a bunch of food and let it spoil in your fridge and then throw it in the trash can, that is wasteful. Growing garden seeds that maybe, they live for a while, you don't harvest them, you make some mistakes, they die, they break down in the soil. That's not even a waste. It's a waste if you learn nothing from that. But if you learn something and you learn to get better at gardening, it's not a waste. And so don't have guilt, especially if you're new. Like, try to figure out those cycles and things so that you're not wasting as much. But in reality, it's not a waste even. Okay? Every plant produces way more offspring in the form of seeds than they need. Now, we, as a civilization, we need them to produce a lot because we have a lot of mouths to feed. But the plant itself only needs to make 2, usually, or 1 or 2 need to survive so that those genes are reproduced for the next generation. If you seed save and you let things go to seed and volunteer in your garden, in your yard, your property, whatever you have, you are doing a good thing, even when you do nothing. If you just let it do its life cycle, you are you're part of saving seeds for the future, even if you're not technically the one saving seeds. The plants will do it themselves, right? I've had pumpkins where I left 1 or 2 for the squirrels, and the squirrels ate the pumpkins and they ate most of the seeds, and then I get a random pumpkin vine, and the plant took care of itself. The plant, even though I was sacrificing those pumpkins for the squirrels, the plant, not all of the seeds got eaten, right? So even if you think you're too busy, even if you think it's going to be wasteful because you don't know what you're doing, it's not wasteful. Your skill is important. Being able to learn how to do this and then pass that information on to next generations so that your children and grandchildren and neighbors and friends and the people who are here after us, it's important that they know how to do these things. I think it's so important that I am willing to give seeds away for free. And I do it all the time. I love the idea of someday having my own seed company. But if I do that, I want to make it so cheap that everyone will do it. Like, that it won't exclude anybody because of financial issues or whatever. I just want everybody to have a garden. So I hope that everybody does have a garden. I think it's really necessary. And why am I feeling like this? Okay, guys, look. This is what I do in my free time while I'm watching TV. These are seed packets. These are seed packets I made up while I was watching TV this morning. Lettuce, butterhead, butter crunch, nasturtium, and then, like, down below from the other day, let's see, where is it? There's black chia. Like, there's just, someone can make their own little chia pet. Whatever. And this is a different kind of package. I like them. Oh, I have this idea. So I recently found out that I will get to teach a botany class next year. So I'll be teaching science mostly and then botany. And I thought this will be so cool. I'm going to have my students do a STEM project. I have several STEM project ideas. One of them is to evaluate different types of seed packets. So they'll get all these different kinds of seed packets. I'll have a couple of each, for each kid. They'll put different kinds of seeds in it, and then they'll do the shake test and see if any of the seeds fall out. Then they'll open it and reseal it and see, okay, what are the pros and cons? Like, I can see the seeds, that's great. And you can open and close this one, but once you open these, you can't close it again. Like, they're gonna be able to evaluate and analyze the different seed packets, which ones are the best. And then they're gonna have materials. So like, I've got like leftover transparency sheets, like the little strips that are left over. I've got a ton of that material, and I've got all kinds of, scratch paper and so forth. And I'm going to let them just have a heyday making their own seed packets, and then like evaluating each other's and trying to figure out what is the best seed packet design. And then another idea I have for the STEM projects is for them to design hummingbird feeders. I think that would be really cool. Another one is they're going to design plant markers, like, when you like label in your garden, because we all struggle with the labels coming off. And so they'll do Sharpie marker on plastic and then squirt it with water bottles and leave it out in the sun, and then squirt it with water bottles and leave it out in the sun, and see which of the labels are going to work the best. I also thought about maybe letting them do like painted rocks as labels. So like painted rocks as labels, plastic strips with Sharpie marker, reused or repurposed blinds, like for your window blinds, as markers, because those work really well actually. And basically let them come up with their totally unique designs, and then see how those turn out. And so they'll go through the whole engineering process, the assessment, development, design, implementation, and evaluation stages. It's called ADDIE. And so they're going to go through the whole STEM engineering design process for making their own seed packets, hummingbird feeders, plant markers. I have some other ideas I'm probably spacing out right now, but I've got a lot of ideas. And so then they'll also, with the seed packets, try small seeds like black chia, and then lettuce, and seeds like nasturtium that are bigger, and beans and corn, and do the shake tests and stuff, and handling tests, like you're handling it. Did the seeds break through the packaging? No, you're shaking it. Did the seeds fall out of the packaging? Open and close test. Can you open and close the packet? And so forth. And then they can show to other people, like, which design do you think is more attractive? And then they can also do artwork on the packaging to make it artistic. So that would be STEAM, not STEM. Add the A, which is art. So lots of ideas for my botany class. I think it's going to be really amazing, honestly. And I think I'm going to blow the socks off my principal when he sees all the engineering practices I'm going to weave into it. We're also going to do where they're going to do our art journaling and a plant identification. And it's just going to be, I'm overwhelmed with the ideas of it. And I will tell you this, that if I do planning outside of my school day, the ideas that I do outside of my school day, which I just said to all of you, those are my ideas. And the school does not own them. Anything I do outside of my 7:30, start time and my end time, those are my ideas. I can sell those ideas on Teachers Pay Teachers. I can sell those ideas on Etsy. I can publish them. I can, do whatever I want with them, because those are mine. The school is not adopting a curriculum, so they are benefiting from my expertise and what I can do. And so those ideas are mine. And when I do my planning at school, it's going to be for my science class. And when I do my planning for my gardening class, it's going to be on my own time. So my ideas are my own curriculum, because I do have a degree in instructional design and technology. So I am technically a certified instructional designer. And so I think it'll be really cool, and it's going to be like a 2-for-1, because I'm going to be able to use it in my classroom. The kids are going to have a great time. They're going to benefit, and I'm still going to have all of that content is something that is technically copyrighted, because as I'm videotaping this and sharing my ideas with you, This is proof of concept. By publishing this on YouTube, I have published proof of concept. These are my original ideas. I do have creative license over that. By publishing this here, it is proof of concept. So, yeah, proof of concept. It's a thing, you guys. Also, if you are interested in like doing your own copywriting and trademarking and stuff, there's a thing called poor man's copyright. Like if I write poetry, if I write a poem and I mail it to myself and it's sealed and it's stamped by the post office for the cost of a stamp, and I get it back and I don't open it, if somebody ever tried to publish the same poem, I'm just saying, if they did, I could bring that envelope in front of a judge and they would see that it was postmarked and sealed. They would open it and they would see that it was as of that date, it was my idea. You can do this with a lot of different things too. And if you're a writer, you want to get your ideas registered with the Library of Congress is what you want to do. But if you have ideas, you want to get credit for your ideas. I love sharing, but I also do want to have to retain my rights, the creative parts of it. So it's like, you know what? If you are inspired by somebody, you should always say, hey, you know what? I did this. I did all the legwork here. I put all this together, but I got the idea from so-and-so, or I was inspired by so-and-so. Or if you can't remember, you say like, I was inspired by this person I saw on YouTube, or I saw this thing on Pinterest. And, so the people know that you are giving credit to the people who own it. So, or who had the idea. Sometimes we don't know because, there's nothing new under the sun. But I've got a lot of ideas. And I kind of share, sometimes probably too much. I probably share too much. But, so this is what I'm doing, with these packages. And these were technically supposed to be for coins, like coin collecting and stuff like that. But they do work really well, and they're the size that they would fit into my favorite way of organizing, if you have a small amount of seeds, is those baseball binders for baseball cards. And these are small enough. Like the seed packages from M.I. Gardner and Baker Creek, they don't fit. But these are small, and they do fit. And so if you have a lot of different varieties, but you don't have a lot of seeds and they're not very thick, these would not be good for that. But the smaller seeds would be great, like all the different lettuces and so forth. But if it's nasturtiums, beans, and corn, they're really big seeds. They don't work very well in those binders. But the seed packets, the dimensions, the width and height are perfect for those kinds of setups. I tried binders with with the bigger compartments, like for like photo albums kind of setup. I don't love that as much because you only can fit 4 seed packets or 8 maybe back to back. You could do more if you don't care about seeing the front and back of the covers. But the ones that are baseball cards, you can fit so many of them into each page that you could do a whole garden in one book. But if you have 4 to a page, the larger ones, you can't fit your whole garden into one book. Or at least I can't, because there's just too many. But this is really fun. I've been putting them together for a long time. And I keep going on. Whenever I get bored of packaging up one variety of seeds, I go on and buy another variety of seeds. It's my lucky day. I got another package, and this one is from Everwilde Farms. Sweet. Ooh, yay, look at this. It is Golden Globe turnips. Lovely. I love turnips because they double as a root crop and a leafy green. So awesome. We've got a lot of seeds here. A fourth of a pound. So fabulous. And this really rounds out this order because I have the greens and I got some roots here. Excellent. Sweet. Why do I think people all should have a garden? Why can't it just be why don't I think people should just all have hobbies? I do think that too, by the way. Everybody should have a hobby because it's good for your brain. It really is. It's really good for your brain to have a hobby. The reason why I think everybody should start gardening, even if it's not their thing yet, is because of food security. And also it's good for our environment. For the environment, if you think of produce being trucked in from all over the place, and it has to be shipped so many places, and you have to think about all the pesticides and all of that, it's going to be healthier if you grow it in your own garden. The other thing is food security. We rely on a lot of other places. We rely on other cities, other states, other countries for our food. That might not be the smartest thing. I do think that eating locally is the smartest, most sustainable thing to do. Price-wise, it can be very expensive to eat locally. I know that sounds backwards, but if you notice, the food that we have shipped in from other countries is cheaper than food that you get at the farmer's market. It's a fact. And I see so many people saying, oh, go to the farmer's market. I love going to the farmer's market. But I go to the farmer's market when I'm having a little bit of extra money. Because the farmer's markets cost a lot more than a supermarket. And that's just the truth. Is it better to go to the farmer's market? Yes, it is. But if you don't have a lot of money, you can't always afford to go to the farmer's market. It's like walking through a jewelry shop and everything's so expensive, you can't afford it, but it's food and you need food to survive, so then you feel poor. So if you're a really impoverished person, walking to the food bank can make you feel bad. Now, by the way, I did learn, and I don't have food stamps and those kinds of interventions help, but at least the farmer's market I went to recently accepts food stamps. And not only did they accept food stamps from somebody, they give you more dollars than you are exchanging them for. So, and I don't want to promise this to anybody in case it changes or if it's different at yours, but some double it. And they let you use it for buying plants that produce food. So, it doesn't count towards as far as I know, the cookies and the other stuff like that. But if people had food stamps and they use it to buy a fruit tree or to buy spinach plants or buy any produce, as far as I know, the produce and the produce producing plants is what I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's amazing. If you don't get food stamps, the farmer's market is very expensive. And so it is a hardship for people. I don't go there when I'm broke. So I make my own farmer's market in my own backyard. And I even have a little plant stand that's very frugal set up outside my house. And people can donate to my little box, an honesty box, if they want to. I also give away a lot of my plants and produce to my family and friends when I have more abundance than I can, especially squash. Obviously, squash is the best. Take it or leave it. Zucchini and summer squashes and patty pan squashes, you will have more than you know what to do with. If you grow kale and Swiss chard and things like that, and collard greens, and if you have an apple tree or a cherry tree or a grapevine, you're going to have more than you can deal with unless you are stay at home. If you have a full-time job, you're not going to have time to save everything. You're going to have time to share it with your friends and family and bless them. So I like that. That's a good problem to have. And I like my yard being a grocery store. I want that for you. I want that for everybody, for everybody's yards and balconies and patios and even your countertop in your kitchen. I want you to have your own grocery store at home. I don't want anyone to starve or go to bed hungry because they don't have food for whatever reason. So I think everybody should have food. And I don't feel like anybody's entitled to anything, but I want people to learn how to fish. I want people to learn how to grow a garden and how to add more into our system. I kind of wanted to go on to this incognito kind of thing where I plant vegetables and fruits and stuff in my community, but you can get in trouble for that. You can get in trouble for anything, right? But I was thinking, well, maybe if it's native, I don't think they'd care. So, like the salal berries are edible. If you put a bunch of salal in areas, I don't know. Work with your community, work with your neighborhood, and just encourage everybody around you to plant a garden, to grow grow your favorite foods. Grow foods that grow well, even if they're not your favorite, and change your palate so that you will eat things that grow well. Anyway, I've said a lot, but I hope that you guys get the gist of this. I really want you to have a garden and have a lot of abundance. So now, while I'm going to say goodbye to you guys, I'm going to go ahead and package up some of these two different kinds of the Ethiopian kale and the Portuguese kale. And then on Tuesday, when I go back to school, my staff, my colleagues, they're going to have a couple different kinds of greens to add besides the chia and the nasturtium and the other lettuce. They're going to have some more choices to add to their gardens. All right, everybody, be good, be sweet, grow a garden if you want to eat. And I'll see you next time.